Right. A lot of stuff to go. Oh god. It's still crazy to me that everything we got from the keynote is just for the next 4 months, right? Not any super indication of what the fourth quarter, third and fourth quarter has in store. Anyway, we still have half a box of Monarch, half a case of Monarch on track. So yeah, we'll open a box like usual to start. Get it out. Done. And then, yeah, we'll jump into the keynotes and basically everything revealed so far, right, for High Seas. Should be interesting. I'm starting to be a bit more excited for the Guardian stuff. I didn't expect to really care about the Mastery product, but the Marvels do look really, really nice. And Valdero, so seems like a fun hero. Slash just dominate, take a 10, take a 6, take an 8. Alright, not any high hopes for the pack left, right? We pulled a Cold War Library last week, so we'll see what we get. Starting with no Majestic. Fine. Doesn't have to be on the top. This is a horrible pack. What the hell? So for instance, that's been crimped together in the printer. Well, not in the printer, in the pack sealer, right? Not our cold foil, unfortunately, the Gallantry Gold. Could be our M, right? Is the M at the back or the first slot? Other than that, these are just awfully damaged cards. And it's, well, I don't know if it's just this pack, but first pack was relatively fine, right? Yeah, no, that was just pressed in hard. Like, peeling a wet cardboard. So it doesn't look like there's any... Nope, that's definitely bad. That's a interesting pack. We'll put that up there. See if any of the others are like that. I'm glad the Cold War Library wasn't. Oh, this one's slightly bent, but that could just be from the foil. No M? Well, you know, a crimped M, I wouldn't mind. I have a Redan somewhere. Nada, nada, nada. Oh, Bandit Phantom. Not the good one. I think I'm thinking of the Everfest one, aren't I? There's a whole string of them that have a similar name, right? Look at the defending hero's hand and choose a card. They put it on the bottom of the deck, then draw a card. 3 for 9, a little bit of disruption. Oh, horrible. No cold foil. Majestic. Still hoping the air legendary. Pretty sure you got both, right? I have no idea with Illusionist. I do not partake. So, is it? Oh, Mutated Mass. I know that's definitely not useful. It's the style of card I like, right? Doing something that you can, try to obscenely stack up, but it's not good, is it? Mainly because just Brute is limited. So even if you want to do like a high roll Brute, right, for Levia, where you try to set up the pitch through Silver and all the normal means for basically everyone else, it still wouldn't really do you much, because I think it's there's a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 6, or maybe a 7, right? So Mutated Mass could be a 1 for 10, but that's pitching 5 cards, which seems absolutely extraordinary to try and pull off. Maybe one day. Nah. Fine. Although, as LL gets more love, I'm sure Stubby Armories might go a little bit back up, if it hasn't already. Spill Blood in a foil. Do we see the Decimator Axe Fang people? Interesting. With solely taking it for the card draw and the extra reacts that you can take, right? Still feels like we're 2 steps forward, 1 step back with Fang, right? On what exactly the correct build should be. Although, versatility is definitely nice to see. Nada. Ooh, Shadow Puppetry. We get Shadow back. Definitely a lot more exciting. Right? Just next attack action you play this turn, gains +1, go again. You know what's there's the new card that we did get from the spoilers for Pirate. It seems like this, right? Not as absurd, right? Doesn't have the on hit, and the +1 is gated by matching color, but it's any attack, which I think is definitely unsung because A, weapons, B, the new Necromancer allies all want essentially a go again proc in some sense. So that, as I think it was a rare, I mean, we'll get to it soon, eventually, but that does look like a really, really good filler card, especially comparable to, you know, Arc and Watery Graves with Lead the Charge and Captain's Call. But both them gated. Same with Trot Along, with the Majestic was gated for attacks being 3 or less. It does have the no cold war, right? The downside being 2 block. I don't think that's hugely bad. I haven't missed the cold war, have I? No. It's in here somewhere. Not here. Oh, no, it is the Aether Ironweave. Can't see it from my angle. It's not a bad one. It does say play, right? The extra 2 resources for some of your combo pull-offs. You definitely do something with it with Arc Lightning. Although Celestial Cataclysm, you like that actually a little bit more. No? Still missing the L for the case. Not in this one, hopefully it's in the next one. No Majestic. Minnowism, Stubbies. No, we're not too light on the M's. We'd expect to see at least 2 more. No foil. And nada. Soul Shield. Is that the best light one currently? Right, in terms of pulling? No, it definitely sees a lot of play. Nice big block and some soul food. So, soul food. Another card does not see play. If soul food gave you the choice, I wonder. For the foil. Genesis. I don't think we've done too badly on the end. I don't think we'll see one more with the last 2 packs. But still. Not some bad pulls. We will investigate the weird pack. Alright, lucky last. Not in the foil. And not at the back. That's fine. 4 cards for me to sort. Still need to organize and assemble play sets of different sets. So Genesis, Soul Shield, Celestial Cataclysm, Aether Ironweave as the cold foil, Shadow Puppetry, really just dependent on how playable Shadow is, because I do think this is quite a solid card, right? 0 for Gogan and a +1 to any attack. With the top card of your deck, you may banish it. You also have the ability to create some better use for Shadow cards, right? Mutated Mass is not good. Phantasm and Spillblood, I think a fine as well, right? Alright, what the hell went on here? So, do I try and pry them apart? That's the question, or do we keep it as a clump? It is 4 cards, so it's the foil, the equipment, and the 2, I want to say. So, the back card could be an M, interestingly. They really, really stuck? They are kind of really, really stuck. Oh, it is rare. Oh, rare. Yeah, they're still just hanging on by the top crimp. Well, I'll give it as a cluster. It's an interesting find, right? Alright, so lots of article stuff to go on through. Question is, where exactly do we start? Suppose we'll just go over the keynote summary. I do have my own little, makeups that we can discuss, but we'll start with the summary. So, we will probably gloss past the promos, but Singapore, some alternate heroes for Beach Day, right? Syndra, Victor, and Kasai. Very curious how they pick the theme. Is it just, the running trend? What's the... God, I'm trying to think of a similar meme, guy, 2 girls, one on each side. Yeah. Anyway, we have our Armory deck for Max. So it was revealed, and we do have the full deck list, which we should actually look at. Sadly, it's one heist, which makes me think that they are absolutely price sensitive when it comes to putting cards in decks, which is a little bit sad. Yeah, so 1 heist, not 2 copies. Heist definitely seems like something you really, really want, and it's like I want to say $30 US card now. I think it's like 60. Yeah, Australia, 40 to 60, right? So, yeah, heists for your hype drivers, right, and just cycling through the different zones definitely seems like something you do absolutely want 3 copies of. That's a little bit pricey of an addition. Do they have the, what cards do they suggest? Moonshot, Steel Street, Hoons, and Hyper X3. I feel like Hyper X3 is such a bait in whatever you're trying to do with Max. This locking away hyperdrivers, simply because it doesn't have that May, is just, to me, not good. Ooh, that's the wrong click. There we go. So, what else do you get? Bankbreaker and Banksy. So, unfortunately, there's not 2 copies. You can't start with Bankbreaker. I still feel like it would have been relevant, right? There's a few ways to cheat out action points, which could have been good, but oh well, I suppose. The Steam counter from cranking, I guess, is okay. There's not really that many blues, though, right, to actually get stuff done, because you're playing your zeros. I guess 1 resource to hyperdrive, then 1 resource to swing. But then if you're cranking the hyperdriver, that in itself is kind of bad to get to the payoffs, right? And there's not really any big cost attacks. Jumpstart, but then it gets discount anyway. So maintaining the hyperdrivers to just send 5s. I like the cards. I feel like it just being Max, they needed a better, stronger foundational deck list, right? More heists. But still, it'll be interesting to play around with out of the box. And then, obviously, tweak it a lot more. Armory deck Ira, and there was a revealed card in the promo email that they sent around, right? So, yeah, exciting. That's the next one after Gravy Bones. So it goes Max this week, Gravy Bones, and then along with the pre-release for High Seas, then followed by our Armory deck Ira, right? Our Living Legend Armory decks available at your Gen Cons. A little bit sad, especially since they will most likely have unique cards. Right, I don't know if they're priced the same as the Jarl Origins, meaning that either, again, LSS has put that intrinsic value on Living Legend or on the cards in the deck. We know there's 1 Helmet Majestic each, but I kind of assume it'll be the usual full set of equipment as well. So, yeah, them being scarce, right, and this tagline as a rare collectible gift is a bit saddening if they are going to be full of goodies, but the helms do appear in the gem packs for Season 3. So, hopefully everything else does appear here and there. Mastery Pack Guardian, right? Solely Velda focused, but some good new cards. I think the Marvels are stunning, right? The different seismic surge tokens. And then our old ones. Melting, Binding, and Disenchantment. So Volca, what's the... does it say? Representing Solana, right? So the desert is Solana. So Solana, and then Armory. Interesting, lore-wise, right? The terrors that they once brought. Smash Palace, going along with it, sort of like a... again, to me, the easiest thing to think of it as is the round the table to Bright Lights, right? Smash Palace to the Mastery Pack, and, Bright Lights being a Mastery Pack is kind of a thought, right? I always think of like Dust Till Dawn. That's the attempt at expansion slot before it became what the expansion slot is, and Bright Lights attempt at a mastery set, right? That's now being converted to a mastery pack. The price point on this I do like though. Is it stated here? No, it'll be in my other resources, which are fine. Smash Palace comes with a change to UPF, the event deck, which will be very, very curious, right? I wonder how much support this is going to get. If it's just going to be one and done, or we'll get event cards here and there, promos maybe, or something, just to throw in there as well. But it adds to the novelty and the fun, right? The product itself, I do have sort of misgivings, right? So it's 4 players. It comes with, in that sense, 12 packs. You can crack, shuffle, play, but I'm hoping at least there's an explanation or a guide to obviously how to keep it, or at least the box insert, right, is a reasonable way to store the cards. But generally speaking, I would have kind of preferred it be set cards and maybe a few packs just thrown in for the price point, right? And that way you can still have that varied time depending on how the cards get dealt, but it is just a more solid product. Whereas, you could get something really good, you get something really bad, and every box is its own thing rather than being sort of this adjacent board game to Flesh and Blood, right? But the tokens, awesome. So Crush and Dominate tokens along with all the little ones, which are beautiful. So hopefully we get different versions. I don't know what you call it. X Palace, X Palace, X Palace, right? For the different classes, and then the tokens as well. Nice way to just pick them up as a new player. Now, High Seas and all its goodies. So treasure packs. Very, very exciting. I think I'll swap over to my resources. I think they'll be a bit easier to go through. Although chat is a problem. Right, we'll do that for now. Okay, so this is my current understanding of the High Seas set list, right? So each class goes Pirate class, then class, right? So Pirate Mech, Pirate Necro, Pirate Ranger. They look to be about 40 cards apiece, right? Which is a nice start. It feels like Pirate Necromancer kind of needs more, but out of the two of them, that's kind of the definite, since we know where Marilyn starts and where Puffin, where Gravy starts, right? Since we know where all the heroes start, we know for certain that it's 39 cards. So he gets even less because he needs to start equipment. We know we're getting the compass, most likely getting a main hand weapon as well, right? And then I would hope some generic equipment. I'd also expect the pirates obviously have the draft set of equipment, but it being a new class, it needs that boom. Unless the expectation is just everyone gets the Armory deck, and that's your core equipment pieces, along with, well, probably all other Majestics featured in that product. But yeah, 40 apiece. And then Pirate, 65, but that is a lot more questionable since we know the Pirate Booty is a 1-to-1 of all the Pirate cards, the Pirate action cards, instant cards, non-equipment cards, right? So there's 49 of them, meaning that there's either, 16 pieces of equipment, which could be fair, right? We have the gold baited hook as 1, so that leaves 15, so there could be like 3 sets of draft equipment, paralleling the different... I don't know how they do crossovers between the Pirate Mech and Pirate Ranger, Pirate Necro, right, with the direction that we're currently seeing. I mean, gold is just going to be the general trend, but yeah. It either means Ranger extends further, but no, that doesn't work either. No, it means there's probably more Majestics before the Amulet set. Yeah, that would be my mentality, right? To cut down on the pirate stuff, generally, there's at least going to be one set of equipment. We do have the 14 commons in the gold packs, so I'd assume that's all the common / rare equipment of the set. That's for drafting, right? Then the generics, 54 cards. So it does seem like the crux of Limited is going to be mainly pirate and generic cards, and then a few of the specific class cards as well thrown in there. So yeah, not a tri-class set in that sense, right, where we get the dual class crossovers, as we've been seeing. The basic, so we know where the gold is, but, we don't know how many tokens overall. Well, we know 18 basic cards overall, but we don't know how much equipment overall. Expense slot, we know is 14 cards, so just put that at the end. Again, probably shift it, probably 2, maybe 4 cards, depending on how many extra marvels they tack on. The fact that there's 21 marvels, the pirate's not in the set, the parrot's not in the set, Polly's in the treasure packs, means that I have no idea. With that 21, you've got your 6 heroes, 6 allies, probably, for Gravy Bones, so that makes 12. That leaves 9. Throw in Riptide, right? Young and old. That's 7 left. So, yeah. Very, very curious to see what the marvels are actually going to be. Following that, treasure packs. Okay, so 3 cards apiece, 1 treasure pack per display. So we have our gold slot being 3 variants, gold, golden cog, and gold kiss rum. They come in different ratios, so the gold is going to be the most common, which is fine. You kind of need a lot of gold, although, dice do the trick. Same with golden cogs. Golden cogs, though, you'll actually need a lot of golden cogs if you want, a full Marvel board, so to speak, because the golden cogs can be tapped, and therefore representing them with a dice isn't actually gonna work. So, yeah, you will need lots more golden cogs than gold. And then gold kiss rum. We have no idea how this is created, but this does pique my interest the most, right? So instant, tap your hero, destroy this. Your next action this turn gets go again. So that is just a beautiful combo extender for anything. And then your hero can't untap this turn unless they're a pirate. So if you drink it and you're not a pirate, you're locked out for 2 turns. And then, 3 turns actually, because you've tapped your ability for Gold Kiss Rum. Tangent, all right, because this is gonna really, really need some fine tuning with the words. Once per turn, right? Do we expect it just to be a straight conversion to tapping? Because, there's rationale that it shouldn't be, and rationale that should be. For instance, once per turn instant. You can instant on your turn, you can instant on your opponent's turn. With it being a tap ability, you can't, because tapping is untapped only during your end phase. So yeah, that will be interesting. But the idea of locking your hero out of your ability to get this extension isn't so bad. There's some classes where it'll be a bit rough, but I would assume tapping doesn't disable your passive effects. Otherwise, all 3, Puffin, Marilyn, and Gravy seem to be a lot worse in that case. If tapping does then just exhaust your hero's entire ability. So I assume the passive just stays, right? Then we have our map slots of 9 variants. So they're just ICs, right? North of Rathe, most likely. Yeah. We expect, I don't know, a small continent or one big major lawful place here, right? To go with the other 8 places of Rathe that we currently understand. And then the big one, the treasure slot. So potentially 138 variants, just depending on how we spin the Grail cards, right? So the Grail cards, we know there's going to be 43/17 unique. So that's either 43 with the 17 being part of that, or 60 in total. They're at a rate of 1 in 1,000, which is also curious in itself, because, say we say it's a 300,000 print size, right? That gives us, God, can I do quick math? 5 copies? 5 copies of each card, but then we have the 17 that can't be, because they're unique. So, yeah, there's something else still going on, right? Aside from what James White revealed, personal collection cards, so Marvel Heroes, signed cold foil fables or legendaries from the first 3 sets, and foil printing proofs, right? So, yeah, be a bit wary, because I expect a Marvel, Enigma situation where there's just a pack filler, like the Rainbow Foil. So they were, 1 a case? 1 or 2 cases? 3 cases? For their gold packs, right? Which obviously is not 1 in 1,000. But there has to be some way to get the number to that 1 in 1,000 that's been stated. Other than that, we have our 14 common cold foils, so expect that just to be the chaff cold foils from the set. Most likely just draft equipment, most likely pirate equipment, I'd expect. 49 cold foil pirate cards, so 1-to-1 copy of all the pirate cards featured in the set. Means that there's the Majestics, but there's also a lot more rares and a lot more commons. So unless they're surprisingly playable, they're just a huge diminishment to your cold foil per box, in my opinion. So that's bittersweet, right? We'll have to see what the actual pull rates end up being. Our 4 legendary cold foils, which are also taken from the box, so you can get the rainbow foil legendary cold foils from the box, or loose packs, if you will, but you can't get your cold foil legendaries. They only come in the treasure packs now, at least that's my understanding. And then 11 Marvel cold foils, but really just 2. So 9 of those 11 Marvel cold foils are our amulet pieces, which only appear at 100 copies each, making them, again, highly scarce. Not as scarce as 1 in 1,000, right? But still, because we were at, what, 6 copies a card for the 1 in 1,000. But, yeah. Overall, it's kind of a positive change. It's bad in the sense that, loose packs are being even more diminished. Them being part of the prize support with gem packs gets diminished. But, no, I can't really think of it, but is this just positive overall? I mean, it allows them to do a bigger set size, I suppose, right? While still maintaining the ratio of cards in the set. Anyway, find your Conqueror of the High Seas and collect your big gold reward, basically. Yeah, that card is going to be absolutely nuts, right? And people chasing a full playset of the cold foil. Alright, so, the Marvels. We have our Goldfin Harpoon and our Polycranker. So Polycranker being a legendary inset, but a Marvel in the gold pack. And then our Goldfin Harpoon also being a Marvel. So they're our 2 main Marvels. I would highly expect the Goldfin Harpoon to be more common than the Polycranker. It does seem like they are going to ratio things. And then we have our 9 amulets representing different areas of Rathe. So we know 8 of the places, and we expect that final place to basically just be something on that high seas map, probably nice and center with a big X, and hopefully an interesting effect, right? Hopefully they're all generic as well, and have good effects. I want more stuff for Melody. In terms of the legendaries, so we have 6 legendaries in high seas. We know Polycranker, and we know Gold Baited Hook. So given the also treasure packs having the gold foil version of the rainbow foils, it means that we know that there is going to be a reprint, right? That's how the numbers line up. So Polycranker gets converted to a Marvel in the treasure pack. Gold Baited Hook gets converted to a cold foil, leaving 3 to be converted to cold foils, and 1 extra legendary inset to be something else, most likely, right? Codex or Inline Strike. Probably Inline Strike is where I'd put my money. Unless it's just an audible, and, to everyone's surprise, it's Shelter from the Storm, and LSS knew exactly what that card would end up valued at, right? The 3 unknown legendaries. I'd assume it's another mech one, although Polycranker does seem really, really good. I'd still expect something else, right? Though it could just be a generic, maybe as well. But yeah, at least a Necromancer Ranger, Majestic, legendary as well. I'm mincing my words. All right, as the unrevealed 3. Now, the Grail card. So, we do have, the last area for the amulet could be, yeah. God, did we pull any of them from, was Tremor in Monarch? Now I want to look at the card. Oh, also, I should probably read out the comment because I've taken chat off. The last area of the amulet could be I'm going to probably mispronounce it, Arathiel, right? Which was, Tremor of Arathiel. I forget which set it's from. But yeah, that could be interesting. So, the Grail cards. This is where my mind is pondering most, because don't add up. So, displayed in the video by James White, we have our signed cards from Welcome to Rathe, Ark, and Klloo, right? So all 3 Cold Foil Fables, all the legendaries minus the Krunic, and the Twinning Blade extended art. I would highly assume these are the unique cards, right? The 17 unique cards. So it doesn't amount to 17, but I would assume these are part of the 17 unique cards. Along with that, we were shown / told 4 of each Marvel Heroes, 1 of each language, right? English, and then all the other 3 localizations for the Black Border History product. So that is also interesting, because again, doesn't quite get us to the total we want. Excuse me. We're also shown 2 Bravo Cold Foil proofs, so basically just the printing proof cards to make sure that everything would go smoothly when they print our Marvel Cold Foils, and then also 1 library proof. Now, stated, neither of these are unique in the sense that the wider population, right? Though in the treasure pack, obviously the library could be counted as a unique card since it's 1 of 1 in the treasure pack. So, potentially these 17 unique cards would be our 16 signed cards along with, 15 signed cards by James White, one signed card, Prism Marvel by Livia Prima, right? And then our library proof. So that could make sense. But then again, the numbers don't add up for everything else. If we count the Marvel heroes as individual, so that'd be 32 plus the Bravos, 1 or 2 doesn't really matter. Plus that 17, we get to 60? No, we're 10 short still, right? We get to 50. So yeah, I don't know how it's split, but there's wiggle room for it to be something else, something a lot more common. Because again, say there is 60 cards. Well, 60 cards at 1 in 1,000 will not equate the print size of High Seas. If it did, God, High Seas would be impossible to get, right? So there has to be something else in that Lost Treasure slot that makes up the bulk of what you pull, which I feel not disclosing at this point and trying to hype it up with these cards is a little disheartening, because yeah, once people start cracking them, it's not obviously going to equate the value of any of these cards. Even the non-English Marvel heroes of the first 8 heroes, I would highly assume that's still going to be, more desirable than whatever else is thrown in there, unless it's just more novelty cards. But again, I feel like they would have disclosed it. So yeah, takeaway: not enough was shown to actually make up all the lost treasures in the treasure pack in order to maintain the 1 in 1,000 pull rate and the print size of High Seas. So be wary that we will probably get a Rain Before Enigma, which did drop below 10 and will probably continue to drop because it's not that desirable. Alright, onto the card. So Polycranker is pretty crazy to me. So you can, at bare minimum, think of this as a +1 to your life, right? Which is already quite strong to start with. It doesn't take up your weapon, so it can be in conjunction to a 2-handed weapon. I assume then it can also be in conjunction to 1-handed weapons and an offhand or something like that, right? Because it has this purge. It's weird that that's not completely stated. It's just can be equipped in addition to 2-handed weapons. But, I don't know, ruling-wise, that would make sense to me. Granted, that mech doesn't have a lot. Do they have any 1-handed weapons? No, even the pistols that come to mind for me aren't 1-handed, correct? Right? But yeah, Polycranker. So, action, you get to tap it, banish this, and then return it to the arena under its owner's control. Unequipped, tapped, and with a Steam counter. Right? So then with that Steam counter, you can crank it, remove the Steam counter, and get an action point, which pays for activating Polycranker. But the big mechanic here is the fact that then you have Puffin's ability of the second time you crank each turn to draw a card. Right? So basically, you send off Polycranker, that acts as your first crank, and then if you can use Puffin's main ability to then generate golden gold, you could crank that, right? And you could basically convert gold to its draw without having to pay its cost, which, again, is pretty nice. And then in the sense of just throwing out other items, it makes it comparable to the other sort of heroes that actually do like items, right? So not really Max, but Dash.io playing from the top of the deck, Dartadol boosting them into play, or I guess OG Dash starting with it on board. So you can play an item, you can crank that item, and then with Polycranker active, you can draw a card straight away. So basically, from your opponent's perspective, Polycranker is I must get rid of this card, right? So in the right matchup, that is protecting you from a sizable chunk of damage, right? At least off or throwing off your opponent's next turn. So that's it's insane legendary. I still think Mech could use something else, right? Probably just a Soul Mech card, considering this is specifically a Puffin companion. I'm a bit gutted that they didn't make it a spec for Cheyenne, because you could then actually take Banksy, interestingly. I don't know if that's actually a decent value weapon to take, but it kind of, over the course of a longer game, it beats Teleshare, sure. But yeah, it would have been nice. Definitely would have been usable as Cheyenne, right? Having the guaranteed crank to then be able to swing with Banksy. Anyway, also Prime's crank effects, so if we get any more of them, like Fast and Furious, where if you crank, it gets +1, right? You don't actually need the item. So yeah, it seems like altogether, Poly's just a really, really nice way to shore up the general weakness of a hero like, say, Max, right? If Max did something similar, I think he'd have an awfully good time. Alright, then we have our Palantir Aeronaut, which is basically a 2 for 6 T-Bone with a strong effect if you can get to the Cogs. So, can be a 2 for 9 with either Shred or Destroy equipment, which is also, I guess, basically Shred. It should be Shred and Destroy equipment, or Destroy equipment, right? But either way, so a 2 for 9, that, again, is kind of just a 2 for 12 in that sense, right? If you're getting rid of your opponent's equipment. is pretty crazy, right? Or again, just destroying one of their blocks or defense react. And then Cogs. So you can't get to 3 Cogs with Puffin's ability, right? Even if you don't crank it, you have to then remove the steam counter. You have to pay for the upkeep cost. So maintaining the golden Cogs isn't the same as maintaining the hyperdrive, is where the steam counters are only removed if you do boost. But Sky Simmer does hint at other Cogs, since it's tap a Cog you control rather than tap a golden Cog, right? So fingers crossed, then we do get enough. I mean, it's thrice per turn for a reason, so yeah, it kind of, unless it's ways to untap Cogs, that could also work. So you tap, you untap, you tap, you untap. But then also means there's an instant untap mechanic, which could also be a bit scary, right? Still, kind of cool. Nice strong cards. We're getting really, really big cards this set. Okay, for the Armory deck, we have Sawbones Dockhand, so this is only available in the Armory deck. Action, pay 1, attack, tapping, instant tap the next time you or a pirate you control would be dealt damage this turn, prevent 1, and the allies are pirates, right? So you can protect yourself, you can protect your allies. It's a nice little shield. Basically, my mentality is, you throw this out, you can swing for that's 6, right? So it's probably a 3 for 6 on the turns played, and then every turn after that, you're basically just using the instant proc. Now, when it comes to tapping, again, you untap at the end of your phase, and only your end phase. So you can swing with it, for instance. Untap at your end phase, then use the instant on your opponent's turn. But after that, you're sort of stuck to just your opponent's turn, right? It'll be the end of your turn where it untaps again. You can then instant, untap on your next turn, instant, and so forth. So yeah, it's still interesting. You still get the potential to have that burst, and all the abilities, even Gravy's specific ability, you can have that burst where you use it back-to-back, and then take the cooldown, if you will, right? But still, very, very interesting. It seems like a very warranted ally, which is, again, sort of a scary sign. Up to snuff, then there will be some issues, right? But yeah, helps maintain your ally and can serve as, your tap fodder for other effects if you haven't used the instant, right? Or just a 1 for 6 on board is still, pretty sizable. Okay, Harpoons are now cannon. So we have our bow cannon, interestingly, because it's a crossbow, right? I don't. What? Well, actually, no, it does have the. It could be a spark, right? But then why is there string? So you spark it to blast, right? Sorry, I'm going into the engineering side of it, and it just doesn't make sense. Either it should have the bow part, or it shouldn't have the bow part, or it should. I guess you can use it for both. Is that what we're saying? No, well, unless. Sorry, you can see my mouse, right? Yeah, beautiful. Unless the top arrow sits in here, and you have the pullback, and then you have this mechanism for the actual cannon side of things. Anyway, that's questions for another time. 4 for 4 plus overpower on Harpoons. So, it's not exactly correct stats, but it is still very, very strong, because it plus your big Harpoons creates big Ranger without having to take the buffs, right? So our King Kraken Harpoon, also a new card. We have our Go Fish mechanic, which is your opponent reveals their hand, and then depending on what card is chosen, they discard it, and you get a gold token, right? So if a cannon is activated, instead look at their hand and choose the card. And that is basically the crux of this 4 power stat line, right? So 4 cost to then guarantee that you get to pick the card is nice, right? To then try and get the gold, to also have overpower and create a 6 for 10 in a sense, right? There is undead characters. A bow cannon is the least of the issues, I suppose. Yeah. So yeah, activating your cannon effects, if it's something other than just Go Fish, will be very, very interesting. But creating a 6 for 10 overpower that pressures discard and creating gold, definitely nice. Now, the hang up there is it's not a bow that loads. So getting your arrows into play, because arrows, again, have to be played from the arsenal, can be a bit rough, but we do have our draw to load effects. So for instance, you can use like big game trophy shot, right, to give your next arrow another +4, and then if it's a harpoon, to pressure another gold token, draw a card and discard, meaning that you will trigger Marilyn's ability and go again. So, how would this work? You'd go 4-2, pitch 3 cards, cycle 1. You'd still have the card in, you still have 1 card in hand, correct? Pitch 2, draw cycle. Yeah, you still have a card in hand, so with a harpoon in your arsenal, you can line it all up, but generally speaking, you're going to alternate back and forth But it does seem like just big Harpoons will be Maryland shtick if you take the Hammerhead line of play, right? Now, we also have gold. Gold in a blue/red deck, right? Which seems to be what you primarily want, is basically a, 50-50 in that sense, depending on how you ratio the deck. If you draw a red, then you've gone -1 if you're just trying to pitch it, although you have the flexibility to then pitch something else in your hand, for instance, right? So technically speaking, I'd say gold is always going to just be a -1, making the Hammerhead Harpoon, in my opinion, a 3 for +4 with Overpower, which is definitely a little bit nicer, right? And it doesn't have to be with the Harpoons, it can just be a +4 to another bad, big, debilitating arrow, right? Okay, Gold Baited Hook. I really, really like this card. I wish it was generic, but oh well. So your next pirate attack this turn gets, when this hits hero, steal a gold token they control. Otherwise, create a gold token. At the beginning of your end phase, if you haven't created or stolen a gold this turn, destroy this, go again. So, has to be a pirate attack, right? So Gravy, I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter because it looks like the majority of your allies, or I would assume all your allies, are going to be Pirate Necromancer. So all of them count as pirate attacks. We still have, again, probably very big pirate attacks too. We have all the Harpoons so far are pirate attacks. And Mech, yeah, Golden Sky Warden is a pirate mech, so that aspect of the card I don't think is troublesome whatsoever. It's the if you haven't created or stolen a gold this turn, destroy this. So you can obviously just line it up and play it with another card that generates you gold, and just try and get 2 gold off of that turn, which is definitely sizable, definitely helps a lot of things. You get 3 gold with blues, and you get your plus card as well. So yeah. I think the go would generally just be to either use it late game as a must to create pressure, or save it until you have another gold generation effect and just pressure the extra gold. But in terms of the mirror matches, in terms of any pirate, right, stealing gold from them rather than just creating is a lot more impactful because it shuts down, for instance, again, Maryland, and one of her main engines to be able to arsenal your Harpoons. Right, Conqueror of High Seas. This looks like a very, very disgusting card. So pirate, action, attack. So all 3 of them can take it, right? It's not, despite its depiction, right, a gravy-only card. So when this hits a hero, destroy all cards in their arsenal, create a gold token for each card destroyed this way, and then high tide. If there are 2 or more blue cards in your pitch zone, this gets +1 and go again. I really wish they brought Melody to pirate. God, so good if Melody was a pirate. Right, because you're in a mostly blue deck as well for Final Act, and then cards like this would just take it over the top. But yeah, so 4 for 7, probably not. It's most likely whenever you do try to go for it, that 4 for 8, and then it also gets go again, has Arsenal Disruption, and it can generate gold, right? But then you have your 2 resources left over, if you've pitched 2 blues, to then do something else. So with the go again, you can follow up with another big attack. So basically, your turn is probably pressuring 14 at the minimum, right? You could use Pummel to create a bigger Conqueror, right, that then also forces discard, or you could just pop your gold, draw another card, and then go from there, right? The go again on this seems very, very scary and kind of an interesting choice, but we'll have to see where it goes, right? But just, yeah, setting it up and then going to something else, nuts. Right, Sunken Treasure. When this defends, you may turn a card in a graveyard face down. If it's yellow, create a gold token. So still 3 block, it still disables a card even if you don't get the gold, so that is nice, right? So for instance, you can turn off Loyalty, you can turn off Count Your Blessings, you could get rid of Hyperdrivers from Max, I had to throw that in there because of the Armory deck, right? Or you could disable, Watery Grave on a Necromancer. So it does seem like a nice block, blue, 3 block, right? So pitching, blocking, fine, right? And then if it is a yellow card, you get that gold token, which again, fuels the game plan for all 3 heroes, it seems. We have our Diamond Amulet, so instant, time snap, right? Which is nicer. It means it doesn't break the chain. So, back-to-back attacks means your opponent can't reuse equipment or anything like that if you were to, again, just use time snap potion. But is it good enough? That's the big question. So Gravy can play it from the graveyard with his Compass of Sunken Depth, giving it go again. The question is that really what you want, right? So if you have an ally in the graveyard or Diamond Amulet, I'm pretty sure you're going to try and play the ally first, right? Give that the go again, and then still be able to swing. But it does open up the flexibility of if you have, say, 2 allies in your hand or ally in your hand and something else to do, you can play your ally, right, using Diamond Amulet from the graveyard, and then, still swing with them, do something like that. So, yeah. Otherwise, it's just the perfect discard fodder for Gravy's main ability. So destroy gold, discard it, draw a card, and then also, once a blue has entered your graveyard for that turn, you can play cards with Watery Grave. Now, Flying High. I do really like this card. So your next attack, right? Any attack, weapon, ally, any attack, gets go again, right? And then if it matches the color, it gets +1, right? So, again, comparison to older cards like Lead the Charge and Captain's Call, this doesn't have a limitation to it. It's not restricted by a cost. Similarly, we got Trot Along in the Hunted, and that's limited by 3 or less base power. So Flying High seems just like a really solid card. Now, the 2 block is obviously a bit of a disadvantage, but, you know, extending things that you normally shouldn't be extended. And I personally, I like stuff like this that declares its value up front, forces your opponent's hand, depending on the right matchup, right? So Ice is obviously still rough, but generally speaking, I'm sending this 2 for 6. It does have go again. You have to not only think about this card, but now the next card I'm going to play after it, right? It's definitely scary. Otherwise, you know, Warrior is probably going to see some love with big axes. Just being able to get that go again proc is a little bit easier. Gold Kiss Run. You don't know exactly what's going on, but again, I really, really like this card. Tap your hero, destroy this, and then your next action this turn gets go again. Again, similar to the attack, it's essentially unlimited, right? So if something says once per turn action, right? It's not action card, it's any action. So yeah. Again, just so versatile, such a good combo extender. I hope that, you know, it's in the generic slot because the token is in the generic slot, and I can just create a whole bunch of realm for Melody, cash them out, keep one for Final Act, and have a real fun time in Blitz. Now, we have one new card showcased so far from the Ira Armory deck. It is a 2 for 6. It is combo. If Edge of Autumn or a card with Vengeance in its name was the last attack this combat chain, this gets when this hits a hero, destroy all cards in their arsenal. So, stat line, solid, right? And then the combo effect, also solid. Pretty flexible. It does work with, for instance, Katsu and the Retrace the Past, right? You can name Vengeance, enact Vengeance itself, then use it. You could also, can you name Edge of Autumn, or is it name only action cards? Is the name any? Anyway, point is, it seems fairly solid. Does hint at more Vengeance cards in the Armory deck. In terms of the usual number, right? It's equipment, so 4, and then, you know, 3 Majestics sometimes, 2 Majestics, as in playsets of them, and then some rares and then some commons. So, you know, I'd expect 2 to maybe 3 more Vengeance cards as well to go along with it. Otherwise, just, yeah, pitch a blue for Edge of Autumn, and then use Enact Vengeance. Mastery Pack Guardian. So, we have quite the number of cards from this as well. We have Bravo becoming our new welcome deck, right? So Bravo, Flattering Showman, action, pay 2, tap it, turn a face-down card in your arsenal face-up. If it has Crush, it gets +2 and dominate this turn, go again. The downside to that is Heave, right? For instance, so Heave forces you to already put it into your arsenal face-up, so you can't use this ability on a Heave card, right? And double down on dominating something huge, but still, it's a nice, solid effect. Velda herself is very similar. Both of them seem to have just, in my opinion, slightly easier to access or slightly higher value dominate than normal Bravo. Bravo, was it just Showstopper? Bravo Showstopper, right? Who, for whatever reason, you know, gives every card with Crush. Is it Crush or is it cost based? Either way, gives all cards on your turn dominate if they meet that requirement, right? But you have to pay it up front. I still like Velda overall. Velda seems just really good because, you know, in terms of the hero ability, think of it as it's a -3, give a card dominate, because you have the 3 Seismic Surge generated. In terms of new cards, we have put them in their place as a 6 for 10, Velda Spec, Crush, when this deals 4 or more damage to a hero, they discard their hand, then draw that many cards, and basically trigger Velda's ability, and you get your Seismic Surge tokens, right? So Seismic Eruption, a nice 0 instant, create 3 Seismic Surge tokens. Again, super easy to prime Velda. Bait your opponent to destroy your arsenal, play it from the arsenal, right? Solid Ground, our defense reaction, a 3 for, was it 2 or 3? Sorry, it's very zoomed in on my screen. It's either a 2 or 3 for, no, that doesn't help. Where's Zoom? Nope. I have to look at my notes. It was in the Keynote, correct? Pretty sure this image is very, very big. 3. It's a 3. There we go. So a 3 for 5, but gets discounted by your Seismic Surge. So again, your whole objective is to get to 3 Seismic Surge each turn. So this being a 0 for 5 block definitely seems nice. Builder is going to be expensive to build, probably. Yeah, beautiful. Velda, I don't think so. The Mastery Pack seems to be the primary place of all the cards you really, really want. The only big one is probably Battle of the Pulp, right? Which does seem really, really desirable, and only a promo. And the Mastery Pack itself has, in my opinion, a kind of nice price point, right? So, Armory Deck Origins, the Living Legend Armory Deck, $60 USD. The Mastery Pack, 55. Right? 55? Either 55 or 60. Either way, comparable, because you still get, a sizable amount of cards. Depends if they, just really asinine the Majestic pull rate in that. But, yeah. I feel like she'll be average, right? Solid Guardian isn't too expensive of a class. It will definitely go up, obviously, once we get all the Guardian stuff. But, yeah. I don't think it'll be upper echelon of expensive. In terms of marvels, we have our Testament of Valahai. So this is a 1-block, but depending on how much Seismic Surge you control, it gets different values of block, right? So it gets +2 if you control a Seismic Surge. Let's try again. It gets +2 if you control 3 or more Seismic Surge, and then it gets +4 if you control 6 or more. So it can, in all sense, block for 5, right? If you have 6, it blocks for 5. Guardwell then takes it down to 0. You can block for 1, takes it down to a -1. You then get the Seismic Surge values off, and you get either, another +4, or you get a +2, and then a +2, right? Because you'd be at -2 because of the Guardwell. Yeah. No. It's either a 5, 5, or 4, right? Because you get 2 extra counters off Guardwell, because it's not equal to its stack on, right? Yeah. This depends to put -1 counters on it equal to its value. Yeah. So you get -1 from the first block. You then get an extra 2, meaning that you block for... my math is horrible. This card is doing my head in, and it shouldn't do my head in. If it goes to 5, and you've blocked with the other 2, it's on a -3, so it's 2 block. Okay. Take back everything I said. It is just 5 block no matter what, right? It's just a 5 block shield, but you do have the shield support cards to get rid of counters. So there's a lot of value there in the fact that it's a lot bigger than, say, Rampart, right? Which just floats your resources, essentially. Smelting of the old ones, binding of the old ones, and disenchantment of the old ones. Yeah. I'm getting tongue-tied. I should really bring water. Crush, right? Crush and Heave too. So 4 or more with Smelting, and you get to destroy all equipment they control with -1 counters. 4 or more with Binding, and they lose all abilities during their next turn. And then 4 or more with Disenchantment, and they destroy all auras they control. So yeah, these are just really solid deck tech cards. I would highly assume that they're just going to be Majestics in the set as well, right? And then we have our nice and beautiful Seismic Surge Marvels, which the RO one is just absolutely gorgeous. Looking forward to finding that. Okay, timeline-wise, so April, or this week, we have our Armory deck for Max. Then after that, we have our Gravy Bones and pre-release for High Seas, then High Seas releases. Then we have our Armory deck Ira, and then we have our Mastery Pack and Smash Palace, which I've broken in, right? A lot more excited for it than what I was expecting. I didn't really care for the Mastery Pack in the sense, but now I will definitely buy a couple boxes, right? The old ones do look cool, not sure how useful they'll... Well, so... Smelting, yeah, no, probably not, right? Definitely seems too costly. Again, if Bravo could take Heave like this and give it Dominate, that'd be crazy. But, you get the discount from Velda, so it's a 3 for 10. You could also Heave it, so it's a 1 for 10, which seems absolutely insane. But Smelting seems a bit too rough, right? You'll never get a lot of value out of it unless you force your opponent to block preemptively. The lose all abilities is always just a solid effect. Well, no, I guess it still depends on matchup. But Disenchantment, right? Just destroying your illusionist whole board seems kind of cool. Don't forget, there are various tokens that are auras as well, so getting rid of them too. Sucks that the 3 old 1 cards only work versus other Guardians. Do they? Oh, okay, never mind. I take it all back. I just completely glossed over that. Ice Red Crush and the effect and Heave. Okay, no, they're not good. That's a bummer. Yeah, alright. Well, that changes my opinion immensely. So they're just in there for Velda v Velda. That seems like a weird choice. I guess. Does a 1 for 10 stand on its own? Probably not, no. So yeah, after the mastery pack, we have, wow, there you go, that'll also decrease the cost immensely. Set 17, right, which by the Gem Pack 3 should be September, right? So we have our Gem Pack 3 revealed already. The color scheme, I would assume, is an indication of the set because, well, we only have one example, right? We have our Hunted Gem Pack, right, being Hunted color scheme. Although, is it? I suppose I'm just going red is red rather than red is, the orange of Draconic. But, if it is color scheme, that looks nothing like Savage Lands to me, right? So yeah, set 17, Gem Pack 3. We'll know once we get High Seas. If the High Seas Gem Packs are, High Seas color themed, I would highly assume that this indicates what set we're getting, right? And it's a very, very interesting choice. Makes me think Arcane, makes me think Runeblade, kind of makes me think Dromai. Alright, so the Max Armory deck comes with one copy of Heist, and just those new cards. There's no other rare or common thrown in there as well, as a little bit extra Hyperdrive support. So it's definitely helpful for Hyperdrivers, but still comes with the caveat of, well, you don't have high Octane, you can't really get enough action points to do everything that you really want, and just getting through the 9 Hyperdrivers is, a difficulty in itself. I definitely don't think you want HyperX3 locking away Hyperdrivers. You want them for Bankbreaker, you want them for Nitro, you want to be able to cycle them through board, graveyard, and banish, right? So don't listen to LSS, do not pick up HyperX3, in my opinion. Could be completely wrong, but we'll have to see. And then one copy of Heist, right? So value of that card is still going to be pretty high. In fact, it probably might go up with people trying Hyperdriver Mech, because Hyperdrivers in Dash.io with this package, except for the fact that you can't take Bankbreaker, does seem kind of nice, right? Be great if you could take Bankbreaker in Dash.io. It would have been absolutely fantastic. But anyway, still, it's good support for Max, good support for your Hyperdrivers. The Gravy Bones Armory deck, so we do know that it will have its specific unique cards, which again, depending on the print run, can be very, very troublesome. So if you haven't pre-ordered, High Seas definitely seems like a set where you kind of need to pre-order, right, in order to get volumes that you will want, right? But yeah, being the basically the starter engine to Necro, I expect it to go very, very quickly. In terms of High Seas, I haven't really figured out what I want to say. Ira, right? So 60 card deck, 11 Majestics, 21 Rares, 34 Commons, usual stuff. It's priced as a normal Armory deck, so expect the normal level of support. We know we're getting Exact Vengeance, so that's at least one playset of Majestics, I'd highly assume. So 3 there, 4 equipment pieces, brings us to 7, leaving 4 Majestics, right? Did I do the math right? 3 and 4? Yeah. So that's an interesting count. It's another playset. And then 2 of something? 1 of something? 1 of something, right? So, yeah. Food for thought. The Mastery Pack. So, main thing to highlight there is the 70 new cards. Where am I getting 90 from? I see a number and it just slots into my brain. Anyway, so yeah, heave with all your might and crush your opposition, introducing over 70 new cards for Guardian Heroes, including new Hero Velda Sides Begin pack. So even though it's a 130 card set, the general use of the 70 cards and other products that we've got will indicate that it's around 70 new cards, right? Now it does say new cards for Guardian Heroes, so again there's hope there, but there's a big difference between just being Guardian typing and therefore playable in the deck to actually being playable. Batter to the Pulp, which seems like a card you do really kind of want. So mainly because of the damage prevention. So you're, depending on who you're against, your opponent has to fully block it out, right? So if this would deal 4 or more damage, that damage can't be prevented. Seems absolutely solid. And then Crush, when this deals 4 or more damage to a hero destroying equipment they control with no defense value. That's also interesting itself. Blank counts as 0, correct, right? And then obviously anything that's been tapered down, battle-worn temper, right, has 0 value. So still, the damage prevention is the big seller for me, at least, right? In the right matchup. Just demolishes your opponent's board. Crack Shuffle play, only Velda though, so enjoy the mirror matches. I think the play side of it is just going to be pretty awful, right? I know James White tried to, talk it up, that he enjoys the Velda matchup, but think about realistically, it's just who finds the better cards, which kind of disappointing, unfortunately. 130 cards, 13 cards per pack, and then 12 packs per display. So, yeah, you do get half the amount, right, of a normal product. It's still slightly less in terms of the price point, being at 55. So US is at 120 now, so it should be 60. So slight discount there, which is kind of nice. Again, as long as the rarity hasn't been completely screwed with, I'm happy with it, right? It should still be, somewhat easy. It's basically just halved all around, right? We're at 260 now for normal set sizes, so 130 should be good. I think there is confirmed to be a couple of generics in the set, most likely it's mostly set, yeah. Well, I'd assume majority, so it's 130 card set, and there's 70 new cards. That leaves 60? 60 cards as not new, potentially. And I would assume, obviously, they're reprints, but I'd also assume there's going to be a lot of generics, because there's still a lot of generic staples, even for Guardian, but nothing too pricey, right? Think Below, I would assume, gets some sort of Guardian treatment in there, right? Give it some design that matches. Still, solid product. Again, hoping we get going forward. In terms of LSS maintaining all the classes that they're introducing in the game, we need this level of productization. So, Armory deck-wise, we're at 5 this year already, and we'd expect 1 or 2 more as well, which is beyond my expectation. We're either at 5 or 4. We're at 3 sets, and we're at 1 mastery product. So, between the set and mastery product, that would be 10 classes a year, right? Which is the bulk of them. We're at 11, 12 now, depending how you view Pirate. So, yeah, hopefully this is a yearly thing, the mastery set. Smash Palace. So, bit sad about the heroes, right? Doesn't seem like they need to be gated to pit fight. Obviously, Fight Master Crocs with the event deck play would only work in pit fight, but still, I would kind of dislike them just being Blitz. Blitz is meant to be this experimental format, but I guess they did talk about, wanting to redefine what Blitz is exactly, so we'll have to wait and see. But Groundbreaker Cricks, even though, it's geared toward the mirror matches, I still kind of like it, being just against anyone. Still a fun take on Guardian, so yeah. Anyway, 7 new heroes, so off the box we have Victor, Bravo, our Goblin friend, and our Cricks, and then I've chalked that up as Velda, but now I'm thinking Velda's blonder, right? Yeah. Yeah, so 2 mysterious people. Right, a big friend in the back. I'm sure they've been referenced in lore, and someone can probably correct me. The female character, I think I have a mental note of whom, but the wording is excluding me. My whole brain is shutting off. I don't know what's with me this morning. I think because I banged out a whole bunch of videos for this, right? And my brain is just turned to mush from yesterday. Also staying up early to watch the keynote. So 7 different heroes to choose from. You get 12 packs in it, and it is a 4-player game, so 3 packs per player. $70. Price point is a little bit rough to me, but still, again, you get the same amount of packs out of your mastery box, right? But you don't get the tokens, you don't get the heroes, you don't get the box, you don't get the event deck. Does that amount to the value? I suppose if they made it competitive, people would just buy Smash Palace out, right? And get the packs through that. Sure, there could have been ways to tweak it, right? Even if there's just a foundational set of cards and you do less and you don't do Crack Shuffle Play Smash Palace, you just do Smash Palace as more of a board game. But up top here, we do have 1 new card, which is Clash of Mountains. It's Guardian focused, right? It's like clash with your opponent and then something Guardian attack. So definitely going to expect... Well, actually, no, because this card is coming from the Mastery product. That is not the right button. Do not delete that, right? So, yeah. We don't know the rarity or anything like that. It feels like a rare place card. But, again, more indication that there will be some cards that do translate out of the Mastery product, and then some cards that don't. Which, think of it this way. Our Flesh and Blood has a tremendous time absorbing value, rather than losing value in a sense. So, half the Majestics or half the new cards being specifically Guardian focused and therefore only for the Crack Shuffle Play / Smash Palace means that those cards are going to be, kind of worthless. And all the value is therefore going to be pushed to the actual cards that will be playable. So maybe actually Velda will become expensive out of the Mastery pack, right? Event deck looks interesting. Hate the bordering. The artwork is solid as ever, but the bordering just seems awful. Again, if they're going with this Guardian focus, I don't see why they didn't just slap the Guardian border on there or slap the Heavy Hitters border on there, right? Instead of the modernization. To me, it feels like board game pieces, like they're attempting a board game. But, the crack shuffle play works once, and then it's going to be an interesting time, especially for, say, a new person or casual person, explaining to them how to cube the cards, right? So hopefully there's something like that in the insert, and maybe more of these little boxes. I mean, they're not hard to pick up. I think Dragon Shield does them, right, for cubes. So it would be great if LSS included them in, and then you could make your booster packs back up, and then use that for crack shuffle play. But then also you just have such a mixed variety of cards in terms of what you actually pull out of the Smash Palace. More consistency is what I would have liked, but the tokens as well, looking good. Okay, so we have our Living Legend Armory decks, again priced as Origin Armory deck, so 60. So we assume LSS do make up that value in more than just a new majestic headpiece. So yeah, I'm going to be a little bit saddened if there are just cards exclusive to this, and this is just exclusive to cons. So far, the release dates are only stated at 2 cons, Gen Con and San Diego, which does not help Australia, where I am, right? And then the cards become legal from September 26. So, yeah. Sad. Means that there's going to be crossover, most likely, between the Prism and New Prism, current Prism, and Viserai and our new Viserai, right? Yeah, again, I'm thinking the final set of the year is not Savage Lands, right? That it is probably Dromai, Viserai, and someone else, probably a wizard, I think would then mesh with that. Yeah. So, cool headpieces. I like the Halo Luminous Lights, definitely. Otherwise, the Helm of the Archai is just solid block. I don't think it outclasses Purgatory or anything like that, right? So, it's just solid. We don't know what the other 3 pieces are, but yeah. Usual inclusions, so 60 cards, hero, weapon, equipment cards. Both of them use 2-handed weapons? Yeah, both of them use 2-handed weapons. So, I have to see what's in them and how /excluded they are. Again, the tagline in the keynote is rare collectible gift, so that does not give me high hopes. And I think that's at least all my assets. Go back to the article page and see if I've missed anything. Where's my full screen? Alright, back to the article page. So, what should we open? Keynotes. We'll go with the live blog and high seas. There's nothing else in the Armory deck or the product page. They don't even have Intact Vengeance on here. Curious that, this is the leaflet, but then, Ira's being phased out for Bravo coming up. We need that. Alright. So what else did we miss? I don't think much, because we went through this, right? There's no other new cards to talk about. Speculating on the marbles. I'm very curious how these are going to turn out, right? Because obviously the image looks a bit faded, but hopefully they have a nice luster to them. Live blog is just current events. Matchups. Where's the breakdown? Where's all the 162 Auroras? Be good. So Zen, I would assume, still goes. Number of M's in the Ari deck is on the product sheet, but that's about it. Yeah. It was 11, right? And we went through it? Yeah, 11. So again, Enact Vengeance brings that down to 8. The 4 equipment pieces brings it down to 4. We like seeing this, though, the spread. Again, I want the day where everyone gets a point in a season, right? That's when I go, LSS has figured it out. They've balanced all their classes and heroes to at least makes everything viable in the right matchup. But, yeah. I had my doubts a few years back about how exactly they'd support the whole plethora of the game. But it seems like we're getting onto the right track, right? 3 sets, mastery product, several armory decks a year. Other than that, I don't think there's anything super talked about. Crabman. Not a pirate. Could be a pirate. We don't know yet. Still kind of expect a pirate hero stashed in there, right? At least for Blitz. High Seas itself, I don't think this was updated with anything, right? We just have the again, the treasure pack stuff. Roughly 1 in 1,000. So again, this was ballpark. There being 60 lost treasures. 60 or 43, depending on however you chop it up. I would assume the 17 are part of the 43, actually. So, what is that? 26? Is that right? 26? There was 32 Marvel heroes, so that doesn't make sense. So, they might be counted as 1 each, right? So, that'd be 8. So, 26 becomes 18. Minus the Bravo that there's 2 copies of. So, there's still potentially 17 unseen cards that also make up the treasure pack. And going back to the first 3 sets, because I doubt they stick Monarch in there, right? Monarch's still highly accessible. No, collectors. Trying to think if there's anything else from Welcome Wraith from the history products. No. I mean, unless there's, signed and unsigned versions of the cards. I could see them sticking just Cold Core Legendaries in there. I couldn't see them sticking multiple copies of, say, the Fables and everything. But 6, 12, only 1 because you don't count Tunic. 14 plus the extended art, yeah. I mean, maybe. Again, it's hard to speculate because I feel like if it was something else to this caliber, they would have just stated it, right? If it was, say, for instance, a Rainbow Foil Line Strike or a Rainbow Foil Command and Conquer First Edition, signed or unsigned, doesn't matter. I feel like they would state it. So, yeah, that's the only worry I have, where this is just, again, similar to Marvel Enigma, being hyped up because we've only seen, relatively speaking, 2/3 of it, right? Is it 2/3? No, it's less. It's worse than that, because again, 18 potential cards, 17 potential cards extra in there that aren't the ones that were shown, right? So, yeah. A little bit worried that, again, there's just going to be a whole bunch of nada that you pull, and you go, eh. Although, it should still be, well, no, at 1 in 1,000. God, we should do some quick math, right? So 1 in 1,000 treasure packs. So say the set is 300,000, right? And we know that it's 1 gold pack per display. So there's 300 cards in total in this card pool. If there's the 17 unique, minus 17, that leaves 283 cards, right? So 283 by 26, we say? 26? Means that there's at least 10 copies of most things, right? Again, that's probably going to be skewed, where we have 1 of each of the Marvel heroes. So that's already 32. That's already, God, do my math. So rather than there being 10 copies of those, although we're keeping them as 1, it'll be 6 by 8. So 48? 48 extra cards then to make up, so 48 puts everything at 12 of. So again, even with the card count, there are other cards that there are going to be excessively more, and I assume that's going to be scaled as well. So there will just be a card that's still quite uncommon, 100 copies, 200 copies if they really stretch it. It could be more common than the Marvel amulets, but yeah, it'll be curious, right? If it's actually something of substantial value, or again, that's pessimism. Could be the opposite. There could be something really, really exciting else in there as well, right? Something unforeseen. Other than that, Redeck Max again. Even Moonshot, I think, is still kind of too hard to pull off. Bill Street Hoons. The nice thing is, obviously, with this, well, no, I say that, a 3 for 5 in blue. Because you can, obviously, destroy your own hyperdrivers through boosting, right? I have to see. I was hoping for a little bit extra. I think that about does it, to be honest. I don't think we've missed anything. We'll dig around the card database, I think. So for instance, yeah, Polycracker, Rainfall, Coldfall. Let's see if this is updated. Because weirdly, yeah, no. So I assume this is a typo, right? It being disclosed as a rainbow pole in the treasure pack. This obviously isn't being disclosed. No, it's a generic. Why do I think this is pirate? It's better than what I was thinking. So yeah, it's the only card we expect so far is Peg Leg as a cold foil in the treasure pack is one of the commons most likely. What about this Sunken Treasure? I mean, it should be a cold foil in the treasure pack. No, not disclosed, but we assume. Anyway, there we go. My current thoughts for the keynotes. I'll leave it there. No, wait. We have a legendary to find. We have one more box of Monarch to crack, and hopefully it has the legendary. We have not pulled a legendary yet. And hopefully there's not another weird crimped set of cards. Alright. Crack a box to end off, and hopefully there's some goodies, right? There's what, 2 misses, 3 goods. Is it 5 for Monarch? I have the collector page still open. Am I missing one? No, it's 6. What's the... Doomsday and Eclipse, they're the awful one. The Dynamo's, Footsteps, Carrion Husk, they're the good ones. What other owl am I missing? What owl has my brain forgotten? If we find it, we find it. But that's good. That means, at least to memory, there's 2 bad, 4 good. 4 okay. We can't be too disheartened if there's not, considering we did get the Fable last week. Starting off with Nada. Where's my pile? There. Subbies. M. Vestige. That's safe play, right? In Prism, it gives you extra resources, no? For pitching light, or as long as there's a light card. I don't know. Not Eclipse or Doomsday, we're happy. Leave it at that. Cool. Another Soul Shield though. That's good. I opened this box because I was missing 1 from my playset, and so far we've pulled 3. Have I been skipping the foil? I feel like I have been skipping the foil. Now it's a slim chance, but we should. Yeah, I've been going straight to the equipment, I'm pretty sure. There's nothing there. Not the foil. Not Gallantry. Nada in the back. Oh, it's not far enough. Oh, it's a very slim foil, actually. You can tell they were still working it out. Right? They didn't want to just blanket card, but you know, sometimes that was necessary, right? Then you have cards like that and Nourishing Emptiness that are very fringe in terms of foiling. Nada. And nada. Bolting Blade. One day Bolton will excel. All the cards will go up. Oh, actually, there we go. Galaxy Black. Oh, that's a reverse, right? And there's EA. I completely forgot about EAs in Monarch. Right, Mark of the Beast? Yeah, Mark of the Beast was crazy when it first came out. I assume it's dropped a lot. But still probably something. Nada. Oh, 3 Majestic so far, so not too bad. Nothing to write home about, though. That's not a good sign. All 4 stubbies. I mean, we don't mind that, but... if we think this case has no L, we will hope to be pleasantly surprised. Yeah, Limb from Limb. For a card, discard a random card. And then you get the power equal to the discard card. 2 for a +6. 2 for a +10 if you discard 10 foot tall. I don't know how to feel. So, there's 2 cold foils. But now I'm probably doubly sure there's no owl in this box. Oh. Shame. Arclight Sentinel. Lotta. Oh. Just, I will take an Eclipse or Doomsday just to stay on curve and get a legendary out of this. Lotta. Oh. 5 left. Show me some booties. Lotta. Dude Confidence. Not bad. Dude Confidence. Is it workable? Because again, we're getting Gogan procs for everyone, right? Hero can't play or activate instance or defense reactions as combat chain. So it gets you the defense reaction prevention for a lot of things. I'm trying to think if you could fit into like Maryland with your big harpoon. To be honest, it's as much as the cannon is nice and guaranteeing, I'm still probably thinking Dreadball. It might not actually work as well as I'm thinking, but just having the defense reaction protection is pretty big. Nada. 2 to go. Also nada. Legendary or not. And not. Not even a Majestic at the back. Suppose that's one of the other things about the treasure pack. Means that they can work on, consistency of marvels and legendaries in terms of pulling from inset. Still though, not a bad set of cards, right? Good confidence. Arclight Sentinel gets played, but it's not that valuable. It's mainly the soul shields, I think. Yeah. So 2 boxes, 3 cold foils. Oh, great. 2 of them I like. Yeah, Ironhide set. Yeah. Just Blade Beckoner now, if you're going to take something similar to it. Let's pry apart the crumped cards. Oh, yeah. Gallantry Gold crimped. Interesting. Bad, it's very, very torn. Middle was Howl from the Beyond, which was literally just stuck in place, right by the crimping. Minor. And then a Vexed Malice, now with cardboard damage, so bunch of junk, thankfully. Where's my... perfect, I don't have my little blue book. I did pull a while back. Similar situation. It seems like there was quite a bit when it came to the Monarch. Then, right, with the crimping. Always interesting. And the little error things. Granted, when it comes to like crimping from the ceiling of packs, you can probably do it yourself. The only proper error that I have would be a little white streak cartilage crush. But I think that'll do us, right? We covered the keynote. We opened some packs. We enjoyed our flesh and blood. Anyway, anyone hanging around? Thanks as always.